Ferocious Wraith.
What is up, my fellow fiends? Long have I waited for Gears of War Remastered Collection to finally grace us, but it appears like the boneheads at the Coalition at Xbox have other ideas, because we've gone through the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series S, and we still have not had any hope, any glimpse of a Gears of War collection. So I've taken it upon myself to build this from the ground up at how I'd like to see a Gears of War remastered collection of Gears 1 through 3 to be made under my rule. Now, if you would indulge me, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive in and craft Gears of War Delta Squad Collection. First things first, let's get the obvious out of the way. This should be a no-brainer. This should be compared to the likes of the Halo Master Chief Collection. There are things that collection did that Gears would absolutely benefit from. So of course I would take a little bit of inspiration from that, and I would give an option to pool all of the multiplayer into one massive matchmaking process to keep it alive for years to come. The only trick, however, in this is separating all the different modes that were exclusive to certain games, such as Submission in Gears 2, Guardian in Gears 2, Wingman, etc. There are some modes that would have to be separated out for each game, so to do this, you have to be very careful. But if you could just give us a way to go into a search with Gears 1, 2, and 3 for modes like Execution, Guardian, of course, Team Deathmatch for Gears 3, etc., King of the Hill, that sort of stuff, and just, go for hours playing each game, just going from game to game. I think it would just be a wonderful new experience for Gears of War fans everywhere. Because obviously, if you separate each game out into different menus, these games are going to end up dying. What would happen is a lot of people would stick to Gears 3 most likely because it was the most well-received game, and you'd have games like Gears 1 kind of dying because everyone's on Gears 3. So in order to make this right, you got to take a page out of Halo's book and just pull it into one. So now we got that out of the way, let's go into some other stuff. First things first, whenever you boot yourself into a match in Gears of War, what you see is the character that you have chosen before each match. This is something that Gears does almost better than any other multiplayer game out there, because each Gears of War character has its own unique personality that brings itself into each game, with different lines for each type of situation. So that is something that we need to celebrate. So I think, personally, every single playable character from Gears of War's past should be playable in this game, along with maybe some new ones that are more obscure for fans that dug deeper into the lore, into the books and whatnot. So yes, it may be controversial, but yes, every single Gears character I believe should be playable. Yes, even the likes of New Day, but you could also have Alex Brand, for example, Adam Phoenix, all of the Carmines, Batista as Marcus. The options just keep going. Hell, if you played Gears of War Judgment, anyone remember Jungle Ty? No? He was like shirtless. I mean, there's just a lot of things you could pull from. I don't know if we would include Judgment in this collection, but maybe down the line, but not to start. But you could easily use any of the characters from all these games, and I think that is a very important thing that Gears absolutely excels at, even though it excels at so many more. So yes, every character should be included. But if you're somebody that thinks that they should just be kept as was with each game to kind of, get rid of the whole jarring element of having like the New Day and their colorful outfits in a Gears of War setting, let me know down in the comments if you want it to be kept the way it was, because I know that could be a topic that some people definitely explore. Now earlier, I explained how multiplayer needs to be one collective server. Well, I believe this also extends to Horde. So, if you don't know, Horde is a 50-wave mode that lets you mow down all the locusts and the different boss battles from each game. And I believe Gears of War 3 absolutely nailed this mode. So, if you ask me, I think the collective horde mode should be based on Gears 3, but you should have the option to go classic without any fortifications if you want to keep it like Gears 2. But it should all be under one roof. And that is the key element here that Gears of War needs to have. One collective hive mind of locust, if you will, modes, I guess, if I'm trying to keep it within the lore. All connected through one tunnel, just like the locust, of, all the various modes. I'm going off the deep end here, but yes, we need to have Horde on its own mode. That way, it doesn't die off with like Gears 2 Horde being separated from Gears 3. No, it's just Horde. That makes it simpler, and I believe Gears 3 absolutely peaked when it came to a lot of things, but especially Horde. I feel like Gears 4 and 5 Horde just didn't quite live up to it. It introduced some interesting elements, but ultimately I felt like they were pointless when fortifications were really the main thing that mattered to most people, I think. But another thing that might be cool for Horde is to include some previously unused maps from Gears 1. I don't know how it would work, but if you could somehow incorporate some more maps into Horde that weren't there previously, that could be pretty neat. And that's a cool thing about synergizing all these games, if you include elements from Gears 2 and 3 into Gears 1. But that doesn't mean I want each game to play the same. I want the games to be completely left intact, but maybe refined, essentially, from how they were. I want them to take a page out of Gears Ultimate Edition. It was vastly similar to how it was, albeit a little bit more balanced, refined from how chaotic Gears 1 was. As some of the diehard Gears 1 players say, Gears 1 was, different from Gears UE because of how almost unbalanced it was. Therefore, it felt different to lead your shots and whatnot. But I'm not here to talk about all that. I'm here to talk about the Gears of War collection, not how one game's better than the other, blah, blah, blah. And one thing, I think it's something a lot of people can agree on. The reason Gears of War Ultimate Edition died off is essentially because it was one game that was limited, and as great as Gears 1 multiplayer is, it just didn't have the same options that Gears 2 and 3 have, and it was essentially left to die because instead of making a collection, they for some reason decided Gears 1 needed to go out on its own, and I just don't agree with that decision at all. That's really my biggest complaint with Gears UE. It's a great game, but unfortunately, it just didn't have the legs to continue because it lacked all the awesome modes like Horde and Beast and the multiplayer having all the options it had in 2 and 3. It just didn't have the legs, sadly, and it was just sad to see. But back to the topic at hand, I'm going to give a couple givens here. I think every map from Gears 1 through 3 needs to make it in. A given, yes, but we can't leave out anything. Even if it was considered bad, we need every single map to make it in the game. We don't want it to be coming to us, months and months down the line. We want it all from the start. If you're going to add new things, then maybe you can eventually incorporate maps from Gears 4 and 5, or maybe Judgment, but however, I would want that in a separate mode if you're going to do that, because I don't want it to essentially ruin what was already great with Gears 1 through 3. So yes, I think every map needs to be there, but beyond that, for this game, I will fight tooth and nail to tell you we do not want a battle pass. Gears players back in the day had it wonderfully. Level progression, unlocking new characters with each level, unlocking new weapon skins, unlocking all sorts of great rewards through playing the game, built into the game, not something you had to pay $10 for. You would be rewarded for playing the game the way it's intended to be played through challenges. Like an insane amount of challenges in Gears of War 3. This is something that absolutely needs to be a big factor in the Gears of War collection. If they make it, challenges for each and every game should level you up and give you rewards instead of relying on $10 battle passes, which, let's face it folks, is lazy and greedy. We don't want that to ruin our magical old games. So please don't incorporate battle passes unless it's for something as minimal as weapon skins. But if we're going to do weapon skins, for the love of God, have all the ones from Gears 3 intact. Yes. Either if they're unlockable or if they're in there already. Because I don't know about you, but I love me some Infected Omen or Midnight Omen. Am I right, Gears players? But also, don't take out Beast Mode. Build upon Beast Mode. Who wouldn't love to play Beast Mode in Gears 1 and 2? I mean, come on. That mode had so much potential. The fact is, it just, could have benefited from a little bit more. Obviously, it dies compared to multiplayer and Horde, but I still think Beast Mode is something that could absolutely just be built upon even more if it let you play as, certain bosses. Like, imagine you could play as Rom or Scourge, or Mira. Imagine you could play as those people in Beast Mode. Could you, it just has all the potential in the world for the ultimate evil simulator. Let Beast Mode just thrive. I don't want to see it taken out. I want that shit to be absolutely peak. So yes, I think Beast Mode would be a good thing to focus on. But, another one for the campaign. Of course, everything being intact and all, but I want to add the option to put arcade mode from Gears of War 3 in each and every game just to add on to the replayability. It would really be fun if you could add mutators to Gears 1 and 2. Because these games are pretty replayable as it is, with all the collectibles and all the things, sometimes they have choices that you can just do differently. But to add mutators and different ways to play through arcade, it would be a really good system, and adding even more challenges from what was already established in stuff like Gears 3 would just, I'm telling you, Halo Master Chief Collection, as much flack as it got for being broken at the launch, that game keeps you playing for quite a while if you're really invested. And I just hope Gears of War just, I don't want to say copies it, but takes a massive page from that game, because that is the type of thing we want to see. And I know we should also give faith to Gears 6, but man, Gears of War 1 through 3 was special, and these games deserve to be celebrated. Bring them back, I beg. And beyond that, include all the DLC that was included in Gears 2 and 3. I want the story DLCs from 2 and 3. I mean, how about that one where you play as Rom, go around decimating people with the krill, and Gears 2 where you go through the deleted scene levels? I mean, that stuff was cool. The DLC back in the day was so cool. Nowadays it's just kind of, I don't know. Just the way they did expansions back in the day was just so much better. I don't know, man. Just let us relive this stuff, man. It just makes me so nostalgic just thinking about how I grew up on these games, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go through a little story time. This was essentially the first type of multiplayer game I experienced was Gears 2. So, I mean, it was pretty much perfect as it was, Gears 2 and 3. So I just want to see these games restored to how they were. Gears 4 and 5 just felt like a step down. But last but not least in this just gushing video about Gears, let's talk about exclusivity. I think you know where I'm heading with this one. What about the absolute bombshell it would be if Gears of War Delta Squad Collection or Marcus Phoenix Collection, whichever you prefer, sound off in the comments. What if it released on Xbox Series consoles, PC, and PlayStation 5 on cross-platform? Wow, that would just, that would be huge. And it would keep the game thriving. It's one of those reasons why you look at a game like Battlefront Classic Collection and you're like, why would you release it as a dud, not having cross-platform? It's just, it doesn't make sense, you know? Cross-platform is absolutely the future of gaming, and I hope a Gears of War collection would let us do this. Heck, I'd even want to see Halo on PlayStation 5 one day too, so if we can someday make a deal where we can have all these games on every console, maybe except for Switch, sadly, sorry, I gotta throw shade, they just can't handle these games because they don't have a good console that can handle that 4K stuff. I'm just saying. Well, not just 4K, but you know what I mean. Like crazy AAA games. But alright, enough shade at Nintendo. That's about all I gotta say for the Gears of War collection. I just want... Obviously, I want each game to be brought back kind of how they were. Maybe a little bit tweaked, but not so much that it changes how they felt. I just want these games to be playable again, because as a gamer, I miss this shit. I miss the way multiplayer was. You know, the sounds of the headshots, the ragdoll physics, the bodies just being thrown all over the place, the blood, the gore, the waves of enemies you had to fight through in Horde, the humans trying their best to survive, your berserker self and beast. Like, Gears of War trilogy was peak gaming for me as a child. Yes, I know I played this as a child, but sue me, alright? I want these games restored, so if you do too, I'm gonna sort of promote my Twitter here for a second. I'm putting out a tweet I just did that said, if you want to see the Gears of War remastered collection happen, post the hashtag #MakeGearsOfWarCollection. Anyways, guys, that is all I got for you today. This was a long one, but I hope you enjoyed my little tirade, my little campaign for Gears of War Delta Squad Collection. Anyways, sound off in the comments what you think. And be sure to like the video, share it, subscribe for more. I will see you in the next one. Peace, my fellow fiends.